Hey everybody, welcome to the start of season 2 on the Strategy Game podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Shippey, and today we are starting our brand new series, and we're so excited that you're joining us for it. This is going to be all about habits and guarding our time with our lives because it's the most important thing that we have on this earth. So tune in as we kick off our series. Okay, so let's dive right in here. I'm really excited about this series for season 2 because we're going to talk about our time, how we spend our time, and habits and routines. So I view this really as the foundation of a successful business strategy because if we are not able to spend our time wisely and develop the habits and routines that will allow us to foster creativity and productivity, we're going to be unable to move forward in our businesses, our families, our lives. This is all tied together. So the exciting part about this is that we are going to really look at the things that can cause us to get stuck and then how we can work through those things to be able to use our time more wisely. So we're seeking after awareness here. And when we have greater awareness of what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing, it brings clarity to us. And when we have that clarity, we can pinpoint exactly where we're stuck and set a plan to work through these things. So first, I want to cover some things that can cause us to get stuck. The first thing is overwhelm. And as I'm reading these, think through which ones resonate with you. And if you have a piece of paper, even maybe jot some down. So overwhelm is that feeling like you have too much to do, or it feels like you have too much to do. Sometimes it can be an illusion. And I tend to be a perfectionist and a little bit more detail oriented. So I have experienced this. And you don't know where to start with overwhelm. You can't pinpoint a starting place. You don't have clarity on that. Fear can cause us to get stuck. You might feel paralyzed and foggy about the outcome of doing something because you have fear about it. And I would say the biggest feeling that's associated with fear is a fog, and you feel paralyzed and unable to move forward. And a lot of times I've used writing and journaling to break through that fear. The third thing is a lack of clarity. You don't know which way to go next. You just don't have a clear path, right? So if you think of the game of life or Candyland, let's use a really simple example. You go from start to finish and there's a defined path on the board, right? But when you have a lack of clarity in your business, you just don't know what the next move is. You don't know what that forward path looks like. The fourth thing is feeling insufficient. And this is tied to your identity. It might be tied to some woundedness or past issues. We all have these. You may not feel qualified to do a particular thing. And when you reach new heights, when you're moving towards new heights in your business or your life, you're going to feel this over and over again. This is a part of life. So really calling it out is important. A lack of community and accountability. So if you don't have people around you that understand what you're trying to do or where you are and just pour into you and ask you hard questions, but in a loving way, an understanding way, and just really seek to listen to you, I think that can prevent us from being able to work through some of the roadblocks with our time and routines and habits and some things that we might need to do. And the last thing that can cause us to get stuck is a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. So a fixed mindset really means that we tend to have a little bit more rigidity in our thinking. Things are black and white. They're either yes or no. There is no gray area. Rather than thinking, this is the growth mindset. Is there another way? How can I work through this? Is there a gray area here that I can work through? So I want you to think about which one you are, and you might be a fixed mindset or a growth mindset in different areas of your life. So it's valuable to look through the different areas of your life and see, okay, where am I rigid and what's the reason for that? And sometimes there may be a good reason, right? So boundaries are important, healthy boundaries, things like that. But I would say in most areas of life, maintaining a flexibility of thought is valuable. It's valuable to innovation as an entrepreneur, even innovation within your family. Just thinking, is there another way to do this? Where are you getting stuck? Where are you constantly hitting walls? And how can you break through those walls? So in part 1 of this, the strategy masterclass of this module, we really look at these things, the overwhelm, the lack of clarity, and the lack of habit. So those things can really get us stuck. And so with the overwhelm, we feel like there's too much to do. We don't know where to start. The lack of clarity, we don't know which way to go next. And the lack of habits, we don't have a baseline routine or schedule. So think through which one of these affect you. I've struggled with every one of these, I can tell you. And so this is really the guide to how I've personally gotten unstuck from each one of these. And I want to go through and just give some tips on these, some tangible tips that you can use as you walk away from this episode. So the first thing that comes to mind with overwhelm, write it out. So there's too much to do, you don't know where to start. I would say categorize the things that are on your plate. And I would say make a list under each category and then set a time to those things that you've listed out, because writing it out gets it out of your brain and it gets it onto paper. And I know you guys know this, but we need to be reminded more than instructed. It's so true, right? So we just all need to keep reminding each other of these truths that will help us. And when you do this on a regular basis, I have a planner. I use the Passion Planner. It's really amazing. And I write out my weekly schedule with it, including meals, meetings, things I want to get done each day, schooling for my kids. And then I keep a daily list that's just on a sheet of paper. That's just things that I know I need to get done. So that system works for me. And so think about what works for you. Is it Trello or Asana on your phone? Is it just a note on your phone? Is it calendar reminders? Is it, using a planner and a piece of paper? Is it sticky notes? Whatever it is, just make it work for you. You don't have to use some big fancy system. It just has to work for you. So let's talk about fear. Okay. So you might feel paralyzed or foggy about the outcome of doing something. Remember that number one, and we talk about this in, the part 2 of the strategy masterclass, which is on identity, very powerful. Fear is a liar. So we are not created to live in fear. And we have to pinpoint what lie are we believing about whatever we're facing. And so writing and journaling is the most powerful antidote if we're feeling this fear, because we've got to put it in perspective. So I would say number one, zoom out, look at the entire world, the entire all of creation, and think about your fear in comparison to that. Right? There's something so much bigger. There's just such a bigger plan. There's a bigger vision, compared to what we're fearful of. And then the second thing I would say is just pinpoint it and then call it out. Call it out, voice it to a trusted friend, voice it to your community that's trusted, and get it out there. Because when we speak it out, then we can speak against it and we can combat it. And then we can replace that with truth. Number 3, the lack of clarity. So you don't know which way to go next. I would say, I would speak against hustle right here. And this is probably in my earlier days, I would have been more the one to say, make it happen, keep pushing. But I actually don't believe that now. I believe that sometimes we're in a place where we need to wait. We have more to learn. We're in a season of rest. So I would really encourage you to think about and listen and journal through what season you're in. And so if you don't know which way to go next, don't just jump into something. Pause and reflect. And so we reflect first before acting. So I would say just any lack of clarity you have, pause, listen, reflect, and then act. Feeling insufficient, we don't feel qualified to do a particular thing. So when we feel insufficient, I think we have to, again, look at what lies we're believing about ourselves. No, it could just be a fact. It could be that you've acquired a new company, or you're scaling your business tremendously and you've never been in this place, or you're adopting a child, or you are homeschooling for the first time, or all of these new things, right? And you just don't feel qualified. I think you have to look at where you're going. And I think you have to look at any of the root belief systems that you've believed maybe growing up that might feed into that insufficiency, because I believe that we're equipped to do all things, anything that God allows us to do. And that's just my personal belief, is that If he's brought you to it, he's going to bring you through it. So if you're feeling insufficient about a particular thing, I would really, again, pause and reflect and write on that and dig a little bit deeper. The lack of community and accountability. So I would just really seek this out and even maybe write down a couple people in your life that pour into you and you pour into them and are emotionally healthy. Now, listen, we're not all emotionally healthy and we mess up all the time, right? And so it's not like you're looking for these perfect people, but it's looking for people who are humble, who are willing um, to forgive and to ask for forgiveness when they're wrong, right? We mess up, we make mistakes, like we do life together in a messy way, but that are trusted. So those are the people that we're looking for. And they don't have to have particular qualifications, be in a particular industry to advise you really on your business or your family, really. I would just seek out wisdom. That's the priority, and make sure that you've got those people around you pretty consistently. The lack of habits. So this is something we're going to dive into in future weeks more, and we're going to talk about all of these things in future weeks. But this is when you don't have a baseline routine or a schedule. And I was feeling this way. This comes in waves. I typically feel this way at the end of the school year because I have kids, and these are major periods of shifting for our family. And then in the fall when we're getting started, because in the summer, there's not as much of a routine. It's definitely more laid back. It's more of a season of rest for us. But during the year, there are certain routines and schedules that really help us function well in work, in school, and everything we do. And so those habits and routines definitely solidify us. They're not rigid, right? There's flexibility there when there needs to be. And so I would just say the most important one for me has been preserving some type of quiet. It can be walking in the morning by myself. It can be reading and journaling in the mornings. If you're more of an evening person, maybe it's before you go to bed. And it really only has to be 5 to 10 minutes. So anybody can do it. But it's just that built-in reflection time that really breeds intentionality in your life and your business. And more thoughts will come to you during that 5 or 10 minutes of true quiet and wisdom on what to do than any other striving or running around, reading and learning and digesting all the things, right? And then the final one, fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. So this is an area, I read a book on this, and there's a great book. It's pretty deep, but there's a lot of research on this fixed mindset versus growth mindset, and this might tie into your personality. But I would just look at the different areas of your life and just write down, hey, where am I fixed? Where am I a little bit too black and white? Or where is there too much rigidity in my thought process? And what could happen if I asked, is there another way? So I would just literally write out those areas where you've got a real fixed mindset. And then I would write down the question, is there another way? And I would write down options, even if they're bad. And then I would just look at all of them and soak them in. And you might get some new ideas. You might have some light bulb moments as to how you could do things better or more efficient. Because really there is usually always another way. And so it just opens up new possibilities for us. So we're so glad you listened in. Thank you so much for being a part of the initial episode in season 2. Continue to listen in because we're going to unpack so many valuable things from the Strategy Masterclass in the coming weeks. So this was just a little bit about guarding our time, and we're going to get into busyness, key routines. It's all about those habits. We're going to go through a lot more to come. So stay tuned, stick with us, and we will see you in the next episode. Thanks so much for listening in, guys.